I was raised in a devout Catholic household. I've spent my entire life dedicated to the faith. As a kid, I was an altar boy, and as an adult I spent most of my free time volunteering to plan church events. Fish fries, charity work, spring fairs, bake sales, all that stuff. I fell short of becoming a priest despite my attempts. I tried seminary, but I was never that great at school, and when they politely pointed me into other ways I could serve God and the church, I read between the lines. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. I'm not a saint by any stretch of the word. I was and am a coward. It's as simple as that. It was not a love for God or a duty to my fellow man that kept me involved in the church. It was fear, and fear alone. For as long as I can remember, I have been terrified of death, and even more so of the concept of hell. Whoever thought that telling 5-year-olds in Sunday school that, if you're mean to your mom, God will sentence you to an eternity in lake of fire, is one sick fuck. I would wake up screaming in the night from nightmares of being banished from God's kingdom. I would cry myself to sleep most nights, afraid that I would never wake up again. My parents, bless their hearts, tried everything to help me. They took me to church counseling, talked with priests, and eventually got me on medication. It took a while for us to find the right dosage, but by the time I was 20, they calmed the raging storm of daily panic to a slight drizzling sense of dread. As an older adult, the rational part of my brain took over more and more, and I started to pull away from the church. Inconsistencies in the Bible, the geographical nature of God, the scholarly studies on interpolation, and more all made me question my faith. Then I learned the idea of hell that we're taught in church and pop culture isn't even described in the New Testament, and hell is not present in the Old Testament at all. I still went to church and I definitely believed in something, but my convictions grew weaker and weaker. In some ways I was comforted by loosening the grip on my faith. In other ways, it was terrifying. My fear of hell was being slowly chiseled away at, but it was replaced with a much greater nagging fear, the fear of the unknown. I used to believe that not knowing was worse than any hell. And at least if you know there's a hell, you could try to avoid it. But if hell was the worst thing the human mind could think of, imagine how much worse the unthinkable could be. Unfortunately, it was only a few years that I lived with this new fear before I learned how wrong I was. Several years ago, scientists successfully brought someone back to life. Well, kind of. They brought a person's consciousness back to communicate with. I'm not the right person to get into the minutia, but my basic understanding is this. They found a soul, or more accurately, they found a particle in the brain that is responsible for consciousness. Using that, they were able to take someone who was dead for 2 weeks and successfully hook up this soul particle into a series of machines and communicate with them. Here, it'll probably be better if I just show you an excerpt from the transcripts that was published alongside the paper that changed our world. Researcher: all right, the device is active, all channels are clear, right? Good. All right, hello, are you able to hear us? Can you give us a sign that you can understand what I'm saying? Patient: what's happening? I can hear again? Oh my God, I heard something. Can you hear me? Where am I? What's going on? Researcher: great, you can hear us. We're just going to ask a few questions. First, do you remember who you are? Patient: can you hear my thoughts? Oh, thank God, praise the Lord, please just help me. I can't do this anymore, I can't. Researcher: we are trying to help, sir. Please let us know if you can remember who you are. Yes, of course, yes, my name is redacted. I was in a car accident. That's the last thing I really remember before all this. Have I been in a coma, or am I a vegetable or something? What have you been doing to me? I don't want to be a part of whatever this is anymore. No, I don't want this. We need you to relax. We are going to help you. We will answer your questions soon. We just have some quick questions to get to first. What can you tell us about... Oh God, you're not going to help, are you? Please, I need you to... Oh God, please, I just can't do this. You have to help me. It's been so dark and quiet for so long. I was alone with nothing but my thoughts. Sir, we need you to calm down right now. I kept trying to communicate. I tried screaming or moving or doing something to tell someone, anyone to pull the plug. I could tell they were experimenting on me or something at first, but I just wanted them to let me go. I remember feeling needles and them cutting into my flesh everywhere, and then even that was gone. I can't feel my limbs. I can't move. I can't see. I just want it to stop. The blackness and the silence and the thoughts. I need it all to stop. Please, I know you're trying to help, but I don't want to be alive anymore. I can't live anymore. Please kill me. Please, just kill me. Please, I am begging you. Our Father, who art in heaven. The study tried to explain what occurred in scientific, academic, and clinical terms the best they could, but it wasn't until later revelations that we as a society truly grasped the full meaning of all this. The scientific world was hesitant at first, but once it was peer-reviewed and repeated, there was no slowing this down. This breakthrough was described as the greatest discovery since Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. Nearly every major scientific organization shifted their resources to study the soul particle. The funding seemed unending for this research at the time, and people begged to know more. Many religious organizations rushed to build labs to be the one to prove their God was the true one. They brought back countless saints, bhikkhus, pujaris, pagans, Satanists, and even fringe cult leaders. But one by one, they all found the same result. The truth is, there is no heaven, there's no afterlife, there isn't even really death as we know it. Once you hit a certain point in development, a light turns on that can never go out. They were able to talk to that first patient for a while and learn more. He died pretty much instantaneously in that car crash. His body was sold and practiced on in a medical school. He felt everything they did to him before his nerves decayed. He could tell at first his eyes were closed, but some glimmers of light would occasionally pierce through the eyelid, so he knew they still worked. Eventually his eyes completely failed, and then his ears, and finally the last trickle of pain from his decaying body was replaced with nothingness. Not blackness, not silence, not numbness. Nothing. He assumed he was alive and paralyzed or something similar, and he prayed that any minute he would die. It wasn't until the scientists explained that he had been dead for 2 weeks that his bleak reality hit him. We have been able to bring back countless numbers of people after death at this point. Even those who have been dead and buried for thousands of years can be salvaged to an extent, although after around 100 years or so they become impossible to communicate with. Being alone with your thoughts for that long just causes you to forget how to think in any meaningful language, I guess. As far as we can tell, there's no way out of this. Everything you are, everything you have felt, everything you know and ever will know is all just contained in a single microscopic particle that controls your nervous system and body. You are not your body or your brain, you are a single atom in the cockpit of a biological machine. We still don't know how or why it works, but it doesn't appear in the brain until around age 3 or 4, and once it's there, there's nothing anyone can do. It's not present in any animals. It's just humans in this hell as far as we can tell. Scientists have checked every cause of death imaginable and it's still present. We've tried cremation, dissolving in acids, nuclear explosions, you name it, the soul particle has survived it. If it can be destroyed, we haven't found a way to do so. Some theorize that when the sun envelops the earth in 5 billion years, we'll finally be released from our prisons. But others believe that's just wishful thinking. Whatever the finer details may be, it's been undeniably scientifically proven. The conscious soul outlives the body and is forced to be alone with itself with no input for the rest of eternity. Funding has dried up and any further research into the topic has ceased entirely. Not much point of learning anything anymore. Society moves on slowly and without aim. Some of us still work, trying to find meaning in this short time we have through menial labor, but most of us just sit at home and wait for the end. Every church, temple, and mosque lies vacant now besides a few diehards who still believe they can pray their way out of this. I wish I had an ounce of their optimism, but if there was a religion that offered a heavenly alternative to our doomed reality, it died off a long time ago. No matter how devout or moral or evil anyone is, they will meet the same undignified end. The Bible got one thing right at least. Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1 verse 2. I thought the coming apocalypse would look like the movies, but really people are too nihilistic to do anything anymore. I'm sure a few weirdos lived out some sick fantasy, but when you're faced with an eternity of nothingness, earthly pleasures seem so small in comparison. Billionaires and those with political power secured themselves machines that could keep them in a somewhat comfortable state after death indefinitely. But these machines take immense power and oversight to keep running 24/7. It's hard to convince someone to spend what little time they have left making sure some dead rich asshole is comfortable. So, when their money runs out, or people just get bored, the machines are abandoned and they're thrust into nothingness just like the rest of us. Recently, there's been an entire ban on having kids. Everyone had to be castrated. It sounded unthinkable at the time, and people fought back and blood was shed, but it's pretty well accepted now. It was the most humane thing we could have done, knowing what we know. No one deserves to be brought into a world you can't escape from. When the youngest generation alive today dies off, there will be no humans left on Earth. The irony is that I spent most of my life being staunchly pro-life. I used to think a child's death was the worst thing that could happen. It turns out they were the lucky ones. They were the ones who got out in time. I try to appreciate what time I have left, but how could I when I know what terrible fate will befall each and every one of us? I tripled my medication dosage, but nothing keeps the waves of panic at bay fully, and there's no way to administer medication once the body is gone anyway. I try to take solace in the fact that I'm not alone in this. Every single one of us has to go through it, right? It's humanity's cross to bear, so to speak, but I know in my heart that there is no solace in suffering together. My mom used to tell me a story when I was young. She said that the greatest decision she ever made was when she left that abortion clinic and had a change of heart at the last second. She used to say I was the only thing she didn't regret in life. I'm glad she died before this study came out. I'm not sure she could have lived with herself, but for what it's worth, I forgive her. Still, I wonder if there's a parallel universe out there where she went through with it. I wish I wasn't born in that universe instead.